Steve, welcome to the CIO Zone.
Thank you very much.
We're here at the Oracle Open World. 41,000 attendees, I understand.
That's right, yeah.
And they are all gathered around this booth right now.
It seems like that.
Yes, it does. Tell our members, our viewers, a little bit about HCL and what your role is there.
HCL is one of the Indian offshore players. We have almost 70,000 staff now. And for the last few quarters, we've been growing much faster than our competition. And my role within HCL, I sit on the corporate board, and I run our enterprise application division, which is about $700–800 million of our turnover, about 8,000 of our people. And within that, we have our SAP practice, our Oracle practice, our Microsoft practice, and our consulting practice.
As we're sitting here now, the word seems to be shifting away from ERP and those kinds of business applications, more to the cloud.
Yes.
And of course, that's good news for companies such as yours, HCL, where transformation of enterprises and adopting new technologies to achieve new benefits and gains. So have you seen a shift now in the kind of business that you're getting and the inquiries that you're getting?
Businesses do not want to take the amount of time that it used to take to put in technology, and they want a much greater degree of flexibility to turn it on and off when they want to use it. And they want to be able to deploy fresh technology as it becomes available quickly. So cloud at least offers the promise of being able to do all of those things. I think one of the challenges is that many of those organizations, as you described, a lot of them put in their foundation technology around the year 2000. It's 10 years old now. A lot of them are running releases that are many releases old. And so they have an aging infrastructure, a desire to bring in some of what is very innovative, fresh technology, and I think they are caught in that gap at the moment between what they would like to do, the promise of what is there, and the reality that what is actually running their businesses, for a lot of them, is 10-year-old technology.
Yes, and that's a constant question that needs to be asked.
Yeah, so we find a lot of demand for sorting out the pipework. So consolidation of systems that are there, upgrading systems that are there, so that actually fresh technology can be easily layered onto that. And that's money that companies don't want to spend. I wouldn't want to spend it, but it's almost a necessity. And then we are seeing a lot of the new technology being purchased in very different ways, and clients actually being less interested in the technology and more interested in what it can provide for their business, and a desire to say, and by the way, if next month I don't want it, I want something else, I'd like to be able to turn that off and try this new thing over here. So I think flexibility and nimbleness is a huge part of what we're seeing.
Do you see the landscape changing in terms of the providers of services such as the ones you do?
I see one of the very big shifts is all around this issue of mobility. So whilst things like the iPad and the iPhone are consumer technology, they have really changed the way in which businesses think about the deployment of technology. So they want to be able to access it wherever they are. And whilst mobile technology has been around for a while, it really has not been scalable and fit for purpose. And we're seeing a huge shift in that. So SAP's acquisition of Sybase is one part of that. What that does is it brings the telecoms players into the IT market in a much, much broader way. And we're starting to see sort of different, if you will, collaborations happen between vendors. So I think what will happen is a growing divergence between sorting out the pipework, and companies just want that as cheaply as it can be done, at lowest risk as it can be done, and if they don't have to meet the people who are doing it for them, that would be just fine. And I think an interesting set of smaller vendors, new software players who are building out a lot of these new technologies but delivering them in a very different way.
And what about your competitors, for example? That landscape has also changed dramatically since the year 2000.
Yes.
Some of the names, some of the big ones that were players then don't even exist any longer.
Indeed.
And HCL a few years ago, I would say, was not on the radar of very many companies, and yet today you're quite prominent. How would you describe the shift in that space?
I think there's been this clear separation between what companies are buying for cost and where they're buying for value. So HCL, along with all of the other IOPs, you're right, 10 years ago did not exist in the market, and the combined value of those businesses today is tens of billions. So the market share that they have claimed is substantial. And as you say, many of the more traditional players have simply found themselves in no man's land. They're not innovating, and they don't have a good cost position. And so, we saw with Bearing Point not so long ago, companies of that ilk just finding themselves in neither one place or the other and struggling for existence. So some have been bought, some are no longer trading. And we see a lot of fresh, smaller, innovative companies coming in, and some of them getting bought up.
Sure. And that's a natural trend.
And that's a natural trend. And then we see the bigger players. I think Microsoft's focus on the cloud is quite interesting. I think they're putting real money and focus behind that. Interesting to see what HP is doing. So obviously their EDS acquisition, but where are they playing? And IBM's focus seems to be moving a lot compared to what it was, 3 or 4 years ago. So I think there's a lot of choices people are making about where they see value for them moving forward. And I think we'll see that continued shift in the players in the market for sure.
What's in the core of HCL that differentiates you from others in this play?
I'll give you two answers. I'll give you a practical answer, and I'll give you a more strategic answer. So the practical answer is what the Indian offshore players have brought originally to the market was labour arbitrage. I can give you those skills at a much lower cost. And they've been on a 10-year journey to become more value-based in what they do. But they still have a long journey to go on that. We have then a lot of the in-country practices who are very value-focused in what they offer to customers, but not offering that scale and cost position. HCL AXON is unique because it brings together those two components. So AXON's business was an in-country high-end firm. HCL's business, a low-cost global machine. So we've been able to put those two things together and I think offer a third way to the market. The second thing I would say, which is a less practical answer, is creativity and innovation sits at the heart of HCL. So we have more patents registered to us than most of our competitors have got. When big firms are looking to recreate the way they do business, Boeing and its Dreamliner, the individual at Boeing responsible for that program says that the Dreamliner couldn't fly without HCL. So really applying technology in very different ways to meet business problems is a cultural component of HCL. So it's harder to put your finger on that, but I think it's what's causing us to outperform the competition in the market.